joining me today is the two lead devs of Nitro Brew Games. They're working on Cosmic Latte, a dating sim style space adventure type game. And would you two like to introduce yourself?
So I'm Cannibal Blue. I have no previous video game creating experience at all, but I decided one day that I wanted to make a dating sim, and I knew that Eric was pretty good with coding, and so I reached out to him to see if he wanted to work on it with me, and it kind of just took off from there.
Yeah, and hi guys, I'm Leif Erikson, aka Eric. I've been doing programming on and off for like maybe like 8-ish years or so, and Annie has been my friend for a while, and they approached me one day and said, "Hey, I have this idea for a really ambitious project. It's a dating sim. Would you like to help out?" And I said, "Absolutely, I would," and it's all started from there for me.
I know you have had this idea in your mind for a while, but what actually inspired you to actually go through with making the game Canny?
So I saw someone on Twitter who was working on a visual novel, and they were showing updates of what it looked like, and I thought to myself, I was like, well, I can make 2D art, and it just seemed easy enough. I really love story writing. I run a lot of Dungeons and Dragons campaigns, so I'm all on board with world building and character development and everything. So I was like, this is definitely like something that I could do. I've always wanted to make a game. That's kind of just where it took off.
I mean, it's actually quite amazing that you actually went through with starting to work on it and getting Eric involved and not just let it sit in your head, because I have a feeling like every single person in the world just has this idea for some type of story but never like takes the initiative type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and honestly, Eric has kind of been the mastermind behind all of it too. I'll come with him with a really ambitious idea, and I will just be like, "Hey, Eric, is this possible?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not sure, but let me try." And then like he gets in there and does his coding stuff, and it works. And it's like magic.
Speaking about like all the different ideas you come up with, I know that the game is primarily a visual novel dating style game, and I guess this is for a question for both of you. What would you say the game is actually about with all these different systems? Like you mentioned crafting and traveling to different universes and all that sorts of stuff. Would you just label it as a visual novel dating sim or something else?
You can go
You want
ahead.
to answer this one, Eric? No, you got this. You got this.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think when you primarily think of it, the first thought is definitely that it is a dating sim, but it has a lot of RPG elements too. Like you mentioned, we do have a crafting system. There's a currency and shop system. You can build up stats in relation to how your strength is and the affection that you build towards the different romanceable characters. So it is a dating sim, but it has a lot of elements of things like RPGs and other games that we love to play. Just different elements of different genres, I would say.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to make it as interactive as we possibly could. I know that a lot of people, myself included, when I'm playing visual novels or dating sims, I'm just like, okay, click, click. It's a lot of dialogue, it's a lot of clicking. And we wanted to add in a couple of elements that like break that up a little bit so that you feel like you're doing something. And so that you feel like you've actually got to put a little bit of work into, building a relationship with these characters.
When you say it's a RPG, I know this probably isn't the case, but all that comes to mind is like there's gonna be some sort of like secret hidden boss with like 10 faces, and I just can't get that idea out of my mind, even though I know it's like more of a dating sim than anything else.
Yeah, I would say like RPG elements, but maybe the whole battling mechanic of RPG is not.
Darn, I can't use mana and all that stuff. Okay. Canny, why did you decide on a dating sim versus like any other genre in the first place? Was that just the style of game you knew you wanted to have made, or was it something you decided over time?
Well, yeah, so initially that was actually like right out the gate. I was like, I want to make a dating sim. I really love Monster Prom. I really loved Doki Doki. A lot of other there's so many that I could go on about that I really like to play. And when I saw, other people working on it, working on their dating sims, I was like, this seems like something that I could do. I really love building characters in a way that makes them feel very well rounded and like you understand who they are. That comes with the territory of being like working on Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. Um, and so I really wanted to take that element of my writing and put that into a dating sim. Um, you know, building off of that a little bit, I have from the very beginning of working on Cosmic Latte been very passionate and very vocal about wanting these characters to not just be very 2D in how they feel when you interact with them, but I wanted them to have flaws. I wanted them to have ambitions. I wanted them to have fears. They're gonna have character traits that the player might not even like very much, but it makes them feel like a more real character than rather just a cookie cutter romanceable character.
When you mean character traits people won't like, really, what exactly do you mean by that? Do you mean like, oh, this type of food like that in many other dating games, or like, what do you mean? I guess is the question I have for you about that.
Yeah, so no, it goes a little bit deeper than that. We have characters that have trauma. We have characters that have flaws in terms of how they interact socially and emotionally. Some characters are a lot more off-putting and a lot more cold because of their past, and we have these backstories that we're writing for them that really reflect why they act the way that they do. Um, but yeah, so it goes more than just like they like a food or they dislike a food or something. They are real and raw character traits and character flaws. We have a whole roster. I believe we have 9 romanceable characters, all with very different traits, very different sexualities, very different identities. We wanted to be as inclusive as we possibly could. And so we've got bisexual characters, we have an ace character, we have 2 trans characters. One of them isn't romanceable, but we did want to put, as much inclusivity as we possibly could in there because our dev team is a very like array of different people with different stories, and so we wanted to reflect that in the game that we were making.
Would you say a lot of the characters that you guys have designed you can sort of see yourselves in, with how you said it's sort of based around your dev team and all that?
Oh, absolutely. We have several developers that are working on it that identify as ace or trans, bisexual, myself, non-binary. And so I wanted to make sure that as we write these stories, we get their input on what would be the best way to write them so that it came from their experiences. Granted, we are still in the infancy of the writing process. We have the characters laid out and outlined, but we're still working through that. But as we continue the writing process, we are getting a lot of input from these different people with different experiences so that we can have an accurate depiction of these different walks of life.
When did you guys actually start working on this? It sounds like there's been a lot of time and consideration put into it, with most games. When did you guys actually start?
I think it was about a year ago that I joined. I think that was pretty early on when Kenny was just coming up with the initial ideas for it. And so I would say it's been about a year in development so far, on and off. There's been
Yep.
periods where, our lives are busy and we haven't been able to work on it as much. But, every once in a while we get back together and we push and add some more things to the game. It's just been sort of a cycle of on and off development over the past year.
Well, I will say it does look very polished and more on the better side of like really early game development cycle type stuff than most games. So I'm sort of surprised to only hear that it's been only a year.
It has been very on and off. It's been like snippets of like 3 months of working on it and then like 3 months of not working on it. Like Eric was saying, we get really busy and we've also been very transparent with each other about how we have no expectations of how quickly we work on this. And so everybody is kind of just working at their own pace and working on what they can when they can. And so yeah, it's only been about a year.
When you started the process of making this game, I guess you had to decide on the setting and like all that stuff. What made you decide to do a space adventure in a Starbucks type area, cafe? I don't know the word for it, as your setting, and what made you decide on the name Cosmic Latte, I guess?
Okay, so I could take this question because this was kind of like what I ran with. So the game itself doesn't actually take place in a coffee shop. There are coffee shop elements, and I love that like just very cozy coffee shop type vibe. I don't know if you've ever played the game Coffee Talk, but I love that like atmosphere. And so it's sprinkled in a little bit, but the game actually takes place on the first ever intergalactic college space station. And so the space station is anchored just outside of a solar system that we have completely made up ourselves. It's called S19, Solar System 19. And the spaceship is called Elysium. So the actual setting of the game is more of a college school type setting. Um, but as far as the space theme, I guess it was just something that I hadn't seen done yet, and I really love space. But it also has like a cyberpunky kind of aesthetic as well. We've got a lot of characters with like really cool grungy looking cybernetics. And so it's kind of it teeters between like sci-fi and cyberpunk in terms of the aesthetic. The reason that I chose the name Cosmic Latte, it's kind of cheesy, but I had a boyfriend a couple of years back who we were like talking about space and existence and everything. And he ended up saying something really cute to me that was like, it was like, we're floating specks in a cosmic latte. And so yeah, it was like this really cute little like romantic line that he had said to me, and I had this idea of adding that line into the game. And so from there I was like, well, actually, if we're gonna put the line in the game, we should totally like name it Cosmic Latte. Just to kind of like tie everything together.
Also, to answer your question from earlier, I have played Coffee Talk. It's been a while though. But that's pretty cool. And the name's not that cheesy. Actually, craziest like thing I've ever heard someone say like out of the blue, if I heard what you heard, to come up with Cosmic Latte. So I know you've been like the lead on the coding side of things. How has that been? Just taking on a whole bunch of the coding for this whole game, and just tell me about your process.
Sure. Yeah, it's been actually a lot of fun because I hadn't had much experience with the game engine we're using, which by the way is RenPy. It's a visual novel oriented like scripting language based on Python. So it makes it really easy to do a lot of the, I guess you would say, basic visual novel interactions, like the dialogue and scene transitions, things like are all pretty straightforward to implement. So it's been a lot of fun learning that and learning all the features of that, and also learning on how to expand on it. Because it's based in Python, a lot of it is very easy to extend and add features to. So a lot of the stuff that, as Candy was saying earlier, when they would come to me and be like, "Can this thing possibly be done in this engine?" And I go back to them like, "Yeah, I don't know, maybe let me look into it." But a lot of the times it is possible because internally it's just Python. So it's been a lot of fun trying to work out these little problems of how to add specific features when our team like brainstorms new ideas and things like.
Is Python like your main language you've learned over the years, or I know it's the base language everyone usually starts off with, but would you say it's your main language you like to use overall?
Definitely, it's definitely the easiest for me to quickly, write stuff when I need to test things. It is a scripting language, which makes it very easy to do, basic little scripts and things like that. So it's probably my default, although a lot of the classes I took in school were on C and C++, which is let's say a lot more fun to use than Python, a lot more challenging. But yeah, I'd say so.
C++, when I learned it with Visual Studio, hurts me to this day. Why did you decide on the engine you chose? I think I know somewhat because I had this discussion with Kenny a little earlier, but is there any specific reasons why?
Kenny, did you want to answer, or did you want me to answer this one?
Yep. Yeah, so we chose RenPy. Well, mostly Eric chose RenPy. I told him I had this idea, but I had no idea how to execute it, and he had brought it up to me that RenPy was a pretty commonly used engine for visual novels and dating sims, and was actually an engine that the creators of Doki Doki used, and so he had already known what it was, and kind of just like threw the idea my way.
And you guys have posted on Twitter in the past pictures of you testing the game on mobile. Kenny said that might have some stuff to do with RenPy as well, or
I'll let Eric here handle that question.
We had started this not really even thinking about porting it to mobile or to console or anything like that. But as we got more familiar with RunPy, I started to look into it just sort of out of curiosity. And out of the box, RunPy supports building games for iOS, for Android, for PC, Mac, and Linux. So it's pretty cross-platform out of the box. So it is a possibility down the road that we could release a mobile version, potentially eventually like a console version, things like that. It's always an option to us if we want to, pursue that.
if you did do a mobile version, do you think you guys would have to cut anything out from all the different aspects that you have going on in the game due to like control interface wise, or do you think it would be on par with a computer version of the game?
I would try my best not to cut out any features, but it would probably need its own control scheme. Yeah, you'd probably have to work around the touchscreen and things like that. I mean, RenPy does have functions to deal with mobile specific like touchscreen things like that, but it would have to be a separate development for that.
What are your guys' favorite development things that have happened so far, like stories or anything like that?
Okay, so one of my favorites, and I keep bringing it up. Um, there was a moment where Eric has an OC that he has made. Her name is Ismay, and we were testing DLC characters because we would like to make DLC down the road. And he ended up putting in the code Ismay as the test DLC character. A few months down the road, we ended up actually adding Ismay as an NPC because we love her. And I go into the game to like test some stuff, and I see that the new test character's name is Test May, and it's just a little joke between us that I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, I love putting little jokes in there like that. Um, I probably need a second to think about what my answer to that would be though.
There is another spot in the game where we're testing like add-ons, and there's like a whole add-on menu, and Eric had put in, because we're both really big Twilight fans, and I just opened up the game, had no idea that he put it in there, and like the dialogue for one of the buttons is the opening to Twilight.
Oh no.
And I just loved that.
Yeah, Kenny and I, because when you add the dialogue and script for the game, you have to go into the code. Kenny and I do sometimes sneak in little jokes, inside jokes between us, or we put them, in little messages when things get added to GitHub, or just places that one of us will find it and just not expect to see some joke there, and it's just the funny thing we do back and forth.
I really love it.
So just a whole bunch of inside jokes going on all the time without being known.
Yeah, like I sent a commit I sent a commit the other day to our GitHub and I just titled it, Bella, where the hell have you been, Loca?
Recently, Kenny, I've seen you online on Discord or in Do Not Disturb on Discord playing Cosmic Latte. Is it in the early test phases, or would you say it's getting closer to a finished product? Because I see it more and more commonly happening.
So it's kind of a double reason. There's two reasons why you'll see me playing it. So the main reason why you'll see it like open like that is because I am testing things. I'm writing in a lot of dialogue and stuff, and then I'm going through and actually like playing through the dialogue and making sure that the pacing feels comfortable and not rushed or not really sluggish. So you'll see me doing that. But I also sometimes will just leave it up because I kind of want other people to be like, Cosmic Latte, what is that? What is Candy playing? And so I just thought it would be like a little fun thing that people can see that I'm playing that. It gets the name out there a little bit. So it's kind of two reasons. As far as how polished and like done the game is, um, I would say that a really large portion of the game mechanically is done. We have all the inner workings of the stats and the characters in all of the character art is done. Several of the backgrounds definitely still have a lot more to go. Um, what we're really working on now is the writing, which is coming with more like mechanics and things that we need to put in. But um, at face value, it looks done. We just have to finish the story, which is huge for having 9 different characters with nine different stories and branches. It's going to take us quite a while to finish the story writing aspect of it.
I would assume a visual novel would require a lot of writing.
Oh, absolutely. And then you have to take that writing, I'll write it in OneNote or Google Docs, and then I've got to take that writing and put it into RenPy. I use the Atom editor. I don't think that's the one Eric uses, but that's the one I use, and then I've got to put it in there. I did not know a single lick of Python prior to this, literally nothing. And Eric has been really patient with me, and he's gotten in several calls with me and basically showed me how to add different mostly lines of dialogue, but how to change scenes, how to add pauses, labels. Like there's so much that I've learned over the last year when it comes to like just coding this visual novel dating sim.
It sounds like it's been quite the learning experience for both of you, I'm assuming. But Eric, what has it been like teaching Candy how to use some basic Python?
See, it's really fun for me. I love I just love programming, so I love like being able to show other people how to do little things, and I can see Candy getting better, every week, and it's just been a lot of fun for me to learn how to use RenPy and then be able to pass on how to do some of the more fancy, advanced stuff to Canny and see their knowledge on it grow as well. So it's been fun.
We have a bug report channel where like if one of us launches the game and we get hit with an error, we can we can basically copy the markdown for Discord and post it in there. And it's at least once a week where I'm like, Eric, I broke it. What did I do? And it's always something really silly that I just had glanced over. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned from learning Python with Eric is like most of it is just some really small thing that you would think is very insignificant that the game just gets hung up on.
You forgot the semicolon, you forgot this parenthesis.
Exactly.
Yes, I think the main thing you've learned is that computers are not forgiving in that way. They're not understanding of your needs.
Yeah, it can't interpret. It's very exact in how it reads the code, and so I've got to make sure that I'm very exact in how like I'm writing it.
Syntax can never be everyone's worst nightmare when it comes to that type of stuff. I know this isn't a very set in stone thing at the moment, but Kenny, when were you looking to have this game out? I know it's not a very set in stone thing, but
Oh man,
what's your goal?
It is such a it's such a hard to tell kind of thing because because we do keep taking such big frequent breaks. It's hard to tell, and it's really hard to tell how much progress we've made and how much more we have to go. But looking at the game where it is now, I truly and genuinely think that if we were to buckle down on the writing, we've taken on a couple of new writers recently. If we were to really buckle down on this writing, I think we could have it out by next year.
I would love to see it out by 2023. I'm not crossing my fingers or anything because it can change at any moment when it comes out, but it would be amazing to see.
Yeah, and we've also talked about like a Patreon demo of the game as well, or just like we both are in the gaming community and Twitch community, so we have friends that stream, and we've talked about having a mostly finished version and having a couple of our friends like beta test it, like a closed beta on stream or something prior to it coming out. So
You said there's a whole bunch of other people working on this game. Have has there been anyone on the project as long as the two of you?
starting out, it was pretty much just me and Eric. Logan did come on pretty early and say that he wanted to help work with the writing. However, his like position on that has changed because he's like super busy with work. So he's mostly just been like an idea guy. And he wanted to help with putting some dialogue in and stuff. But for the most part, everybody else kind of trickled in over the last year.
I mean, everyone needs an idea guy, though.
That's Logan.
And
A little
those
too.
ideas are great.
Yeah. Really ambitious sometimes.
Sometimes it's a good idea. Sometimes it's something like, you should make it a strand type.
He's like, we should add combat into the game, and I was like, Logan, it's a cozy game.
Only blood makes me cozy.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
like, needs more guns. Sorry.
he would be the one to come up with an idea for an epic final boss, like you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. But we also have a Discord for it with a few people in the Discord who aren't actually working on the game. A couple of really close friends are in the Discord, and we're just kind of giving them like little sneak peeks and updates on the game, as well as having an open suggestions channel. And in that suggestions channel, we've also talked about Easter eggs and stuff like that. So we plan to add quite a few Easter eggs, even some that are like really special to each of the developers that'll be kind of hidden in the game.
I've heard you talk about a whole bunch of extra features like the Easter eggs and DLC. Would you say that after the game initially releases, you plan on adding more content, not frequently but semi-frequently type thing, or only every once in a while, or not at all? I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
I personally would love to see us add more content to the game. It really is going to depend on like what launch looks like and how the game ends up turning out once it's finished. But we've bounced ideas off of each other about DLCs. There are a lot of NPCs that are in the game right now that we were like, okay, we could do a DLC later down the road where they're romanceables. We've also talked about in-game content for cosmetics. We have a cosmetic system for the characters, and so that's at the very least we do want to add like some cosmetics and stuff. But depending on how it turns out, I would love to see like some DLC and stuff. And we've talked about depending on how it turns out, if we want to make other games or try something else. It's just a passion project, and we'll see where it goes.
We also, as far as the add-on system and the DLC system, I'm trying my best to design it in a way that it would be very easy for people in the community to add like their own mods and things too. So it's designed in such a way that it's sort of like a file, like a DLC/mod loader system. So community members could make all kinds of content for it too, hopefully.
Yeah, we love mods, so we would love to see people mod and add their own characters.
Mods are always great. One of the good old classics, like Thomas the Tank Engine Skyrim. I love mods. But
You guys heard that. We want to see Thomas the Tank Engine in Cosmic Latte.
I want to date Thomas the Tank Engine. There, make it happen.
The goal is that that should be possible.
Will there be achievements tied to it? I need to know.
Yes, we've talked about it. We plan to have Steam achievements, both silly and more serious ones, as well as some hidden achievements in the game that could change how the game looks a little bit. I don't want to give too much away because I think it'd be really exciting to discover those.
So sort of like Cuphead, where when you complete everything on Pacifist or S rank, it adds like a filter or new audio option type deal.
Along those lines, yeah, it'll definitely add things into the game once you've passed certain achievements.
If the launch does well, could you guys see yourself working on more games in the future or other projects? Or would you just stick to this one?
I definitely, for me, I love working on games. I love programming. I love tinkering. So as long as it's a project that I'm passionate about and that the rest of the team is passionate about, I would definitely be open to making more stuff after this. It's just coming up with ideas that we would all be passionate about, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always really I've thought about this a lot because I'm like, what's after once we finish this? I would really love to see us work on like an RPG or something, like a pixel RPG. I love that stuff, and I think we totally could.
One of my favorite games of all time, actually, is a pixel RPG. It's a Nintendo property not a lot of people know about. It's Golden Sun. So I love pixel RPGs, and that would be awesome to see.
We'll just kind of have to see where it goes with it and how we're feeling once it's done.
So enough questions about the game, okay? I have a question about your guys' name. How did you end up with Nitro Brew Games as your game dev group, company, whatever you want to call it, as your name?
I think that Eric, you were the one who came up with that, right?
Yeah, I think so. Initially, we were gonna just call ourselves Cosmic Latte Games, but I believe that that name had already been taken, so we just started brainstorming related ideas to Cosmic Latte, all kinds of ideas, and I think it just Nitro Brew just kind of came to me. I suggested it, and everybody seemed to really like it, so that's what we went with.
Honestly, it's a great name, I won't lie.
It kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit. I really like it.
Other than the game, what are some side projects you guys have been wanting to work on and look forward to, I guess?
For me, mostly, Cosmic Latte has kind of been my passion project. I'm also working on a tarot deck that I'm really close to finishing, and that's been kind of my other like passion project. But other than that, it's mostly been I've been really hyper focused on Cosmic Latte.
What about you, Eric?
I've been super into retro computing lately, so on the danger of getting too nerdy about this, I have a small little circuit board basically with a tiny computer, roughly from the '80s era that I've been messing with. So a lot of my extra spare time, I've been making little programs for that and tinkering with the hardware on that. So that's been my main side project lately.
You don't have to be worried about getting too nerdy about stuff like that. I love hearing about all sorts of computer work or anything like that, and it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, the name of the board is the CPUville Z80 single board computer. If anybody is interested in looking into that, if anybody out there is into retro computing, I've had a lot of fun with this board, so definitely look into that.
I'm gonna have to look into that after this interview is all done with. See what it's all about. I haven't gotten into a lot of retro stuff. I'm more software side than hardware side. I'll put it that way. But yeah. Other than that, do you guys have anything else you want to say? Any other things you'd like to talk about?
I just wanted to give a shout out to everybody else who's working on the game really quickly, if that's okay.
That's completely fine.
Awesome. So on the writing spectrum of things, we have a really awesome group of writers, including Celestio Cali, Lex Vapor, Han Solo, as well as XI Moonstone. I know that she's like kind of away right now, but she's also been helping us with that. And then on the art end of things, Kanamochi did our UI and did an absolute wonderful job at it. And then we just brought on a new artist. Her name is Coda, and she's going to be drawing all of our items and stuff in game. And then Revere Hart, who is going to be doing adding dialogue. They've been kind of helping us with ideas and stuff as well, so they're kind of helping with the writing as well, story building. But they're going to be adding our dialogue actually into the Ren'Py engine, and then of course Logan, who's doing kind of a little bit of everything. His username is Oystas, but shout out to all of them for helping us with this project.
It sounds like quite the good sized team. I honestly didn't know it was that big, but that's a decent amount of people working on it.
Yeah.
What about you, Eric?
I'm just really excited to keep working on this. It's been something I've been like super passionate about. So I hope that we can keep working on it. I hope that maybe next year this game will release, or at least we can release a demo. And yeah, I'm just really excited that we got to talk about the game a little bit.
Fair.
Yeah, thank you for hosting this, Handy.
It's been amazing. I've been really excited for this and looking forward to talk to you guys about it because game development's fun. I'll put it that way.
Said it's challenging and it's a lot of work, but it is a lot of fun.
Once again, I just want to thank everyone for watching, and especially a big thank you to the devs, Eric and Kenny, for actually coming on. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded anything. You'll see something about it in tomorrow's video type thing. But I just want to apologize for it taking forever to you guys and to Nitro Brew. But I hope you enjoyed the interview. Once again, thank you, Eric, Kenny, and everyone involved in the game because I'm very excited for it. And yeah, have a great day. Maybe like, maybe subscribe because big brain.